I want to just say a couple of words, first of all, to follow up from what John, the previous speaker, was saying about the Leveson report. Because we've had for the last couple of days now, as John has remarked, a tirade of outrage orchestrated by the likes of Rupert Murdoch and the other media barons in this country about what they say is a fundamental threat to their freedom to run, the freedom of a very small number of very, very rich individuals to run every newspaper except for the Morning Star and a very small number of other newspapers that have escaped their clutches, local independent newspapers mainly. And I want to just say a word about that, because the focus of the Leveson inquiry, of course, has been quite properly on the outrageous treatment of individuals such as the Dowler family, the parents of Millie Dowler, the girl who was tragically murdered and whose phone was then hacked by people employed by News International. I wouldn't call them journalists. And in that storm of outrage which led to the Leveson inquiry being set up, of course, it was very easy to forget that the kind of behaviour that was the hacking of Millie Dowler's phone was an example of is just the latest outrageous example of a whole series, a culture of behaviour by British newspapers, which trade unionists and, of course, Indians and anyone who was an immigrant to this country since the 1950s, has become inured to. In other words, there is a culture in the British media and the British press that anyone who they think should be hounded, abused, parodied, ridiculed, scorned and witch hunted should be fair game. And I think it's quite important that with the publication of Leveson and the current completely confected argument about the rights of a very few rich men to dictate what we read in our newspapers, we shouldn't forget that what lies behind the outrageous abuse of the Dowler family is decades and decades of willful abuse of black and Asian people, of trade unionists and anyone in this country who has the guts to stand up and fight for their community and for their rights. And let's not lose sight of that. And that's one of the main reasons that my union is proud to support the Morning Star newspaper. And I'm not going to repeat all the things which the chair has said about the Morning Star and which John has ably explained about the role of that paper. But just to put it in a nutshell, if we've got something that we need to say to our members, workers employed in the railway industry, in the bus industry, in the transport industry, in the taxi industry, or in the maritime and offshore energy industries where we organise workers, we know that we can put out a press release and it will be read and it will be printed, not necessarily uncritically, it will be commented on, but they will pay attention to it in the Morning Star, because in the Morning Star they're interested in what working people have to say. They're interested in what happens to working people, and they're interested in how working class people organise themselves to fight back against injustice. So that's why we support the Morning Star, and we will continue to do so.